doing the Altered Cards Challenge today. I am sorely behind. I haven't been keeping up with my own challenge, so I thought I better get some done. So if you're not familiar, here are the pseudo rules. There's no real rules, but sort of guidelines. This is the challenge that I just put out a while back on YouTube, and thought I would do some more today. So I am working on 6 more of these altered playing cards. So come on along. So I'm starting with 6 cards here from my old vintage old made deck, and just putting some homemade clear gesso on each one of these just to give some tooth to the cards. Some of the other cards that I've done previously, I sanded the faces of the cards just to rough them up because they're shiny paper, but I think that the grit from the gesso will work just as well. So either way will work. And I do have some book page papers torn that I think that I'm going to use on some of these. I have just some images printed out that I'm going to put on some of the other ones. And I'm just going to speed this up. So I decided to paint 2 of these with just acrylic paint in Napa Red, and put the first layer down, and then I just went back into the pile and just really loaded the color up, just kind of piled it on just to create a whole lot of texture. So that's what I'm doing there. And then once I have enough paint on, I just quickly dried it, and I did get some unexpected crackles. I think the gesso that I had underneath the paint was not quite dry, so that was a pleasant surprise. Now I just have a couple of vintage Christmas images that I printed out on my inkjet printer, and I'm just going to put those on these 2 red cards. Just kind of some fun Christmassy cards. The little girl there that I'm working on, I added the Santa hat to her in Photoshop. That wasn't originally on the image, but I wanted one, so. And I have a couple of bubbles underneath there, so I'm just going to grab a plastic card and sort of squeegee those out and flatten that image down so that the air bubbles are gone. And then the other image that I have for the second red card is a vintage Christmas card image, and there was a sentiment on the bottom that I cut off, and I will end up putting that on the back of the altered card. And the writing on it was so faint that I ended up going over it with a marker. And you'll see all of these in the still images at the end of the video. It was good to get back in the studio. I had gone to Cincinnati to visit my daughter and her family. We had our family Christmas early because everybody has different commitments. My older daughter has to work. She's an RN, and she has to work on Christmas. So Cincinnati's about 4 hours from me, 4.5 hours. So we all went down there, and we had our Christmas already. But it was nice to spend a few days down there. I missed you guys. I missed being in the studio, and it's good to get back in here and get some artwork going. So I finished those 2 red cards, and now on the next 3, I'm just going to add these pieces of book text that I tore from, I think there were 3 different books. I like to vary the size of the text, and this is just background noise, basically, just a way to cover up those card images. And get a background started. So I'll speed through this as well. So for this last card, I'm using high flow acrylic in carbon black to paint out the image on the card. And again, I got some crackling, so it's probably a property of the homemade gesso the clear gesso that I put down on the card first, which is good to know because sometimes you want crackle and you don't get it. So now I know that this does produce crackle. So you don't see it right away, but when I hit it with the heat gun, I got some really fine crackles, so I was happy about that. And I just used some watered down of the black paint to just dab some color on the back of that card. And I have the 3 cards that I put the book text on, and I'm going to grab some Prussian blue high flow acrylic and water that down and just get the backs of those colored up a little bit more. This is a scan of a girl that I drew in my sketchbook. I just scanned it and reduced it in size to fit on the card. And I thought it would be fun to just have one of my faces on one of the cards. So just put her down with some fluid matte medium. Sorry about the pause there. I'm not sure what I was doing, probably refilling my matte medium. I like to put it into a little container so it's easy to dip into and I don't have a puddle on my glass mat. And when I put her down, some of the Prussian blue was still in my brush, evidently, and she kind of got tinted blue, which I was fine with it. These are just fun little works to play with, and I really don't get real precious about any of them. They're just fun and a good warm-up for other artwork that I want to do. So now I'm grabbing the 3 pieces that I have the book text on, and I just want to push all of that text kind of to the back. So I'm just putting some white gesso on each one of these with my finger. So I am taking carbon black high flow acrylic and this cool stencil. It's called Collage and it's by Kaiser Craft. And I just put it over 2 of the cards because it fit perfectly widthwise. And I'm just going to add some more background noise on top of the book text and gesso. Now going back to my Christmas ones, they're all dry. So I have some fluid acrylic in Titan Buff in a fine liner bottle, and I'm just going to add a few little embellishments around the edges of these 2 cards. And going back to my 3 cards that I put the book text and stenciling on, I just went through my ephemera, and I'm just going to put some little mini collages on these 3 cards. So I'll just speed through that. It's not rocket science. So now that everything is glued down and dried and I have my grommets in, I'm just going around the edges of each of these cards with my archival ink in jet black, just to give some definition to the edges of the card and finish them off. So here's a look at each one. I've used my snarky comments by Tim Holtz, the little tablet of stick-on comments. And on the back I put, be whoever you want to be. On this one I just wrote Merry Christmas with a Posca paint pen, and that's the little sentiment that was on the bottom of the original vintage card. More snarky comments on this one. You smell like drama, and that one just says trust the mess. And I just left the backs plain just with the stenciling. That one I just put fly away, has some little butterflies and hearts on it. And on that one it says only your rules count. I love that. So that's my next 6, 8 through 11. I hope you enjoyed watching. These were really fun to put together. They're really fast. It's a great warm-up for other art that maybe you're contemplating on doing. Just need a little something to get you going. It's a great way to use up a whole bunch of bits and bobs and pieces and parts that might just be laying around or accumulating, and you can use them up and make some altered playing cards. So I hope you'll join us. There are a few of us that are participating in this challenge, and I am going to shout them out in the description box below so that you can go and see what they are up to with their altered cards. I decided to put these all on my binder ring, and the ring is getting a little too stiff. So I put them on a bigger binder ring, but it was bent, I think, because it wouldn't stay closed. So I went to my stash and found a little, that's the bigger one, but it wouldn't stay closed and my cards kept falling off. So out of my stash I had some ball chain in a pretty turquoise color, so I ended up stringing them all on a piece of ball chain, and that way, even if I get the whole deck done, they'll all fit, and then I can just adjust the length of the chain when I'm finished. So you see, it wouldn't stay closed. So those are my cards so far. I hope you will consider participating. It's been a fun little challenge. It's really just a challenge for yourself. You don't have to report to me or tell me that you're doing it or not doing it, but if you do and you want to share what you're doing, just use the hashtag that's in the description box below. And here's some close-ups. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Give this video a thumbs up and maybe share it out to a Facebook group or to a friend. It really helps my channel a lot. And in the meantime, go make some art. Bye.